So the money doesn't disappear. It grows our consumer economy directly. It would save us tens of billions of dollars on things like incarceration, homelessness services, emergency room health care. This is very politician-y, but I was in New Hampshire and a corrections officer said to me, we should pay people to stay out of jail because it's so expensive when they're in jail. And so you think about how this money would be spent. It's investing in us in a way that would actually save us money in the long run.
You still have to have a certain amount of money to run the federal government, however, and what we saw with the Trump tax cuts is they said that we were going to be putting that money into the economy and it would pay for itself, but that has not happened, possibly because a lot of the money went to the
shareholders,
top income earners.
And top income earners. That's right. This is the reverse of that. So one of the biggest lies in American life right now is that we don't have the money. We clearly have the money. I mean, our economy is up to over $20 trillion, up $5 trillion in the last 12 years. And if you look at the irresponsibility of the Trump tax cuts that you cite, the Republicans were like, where are we going to get the money? Where are we going to get the money? Then when it was time to pull the lever on a $1.5 trillion tax cut, the vast majority of which went to shareholders and the wealthy, then there was money. The same thing when Wall Street needed a bailout in the financial crisis. We printed $4 trillion for Wall Street. Do you remember anyone looking around saying, where are we going to get the money? Do you remember voting for that? No one here in Iowa voted for that because none of us voted for it. But when when push came to shove, there was the $4 trillion for the banks. So we have the money. The Trump tax cut was the reverse of what we should be doing. That was the moral equivalent of what I was just describing, like you shove some money to Jeff Bezos and it does nothing. About 6% of the $1.5 trillion tax cut went to workers. I mean, it was the least effective, least efficient thing you could have done. You know what would be incredibly efficient is putting money directly into our hands, and we have the resources to do it.
Are you going to means test this, or are you going to give Jeff Bezos his $1,000?
He'll get his $1,000 too, just to remind him he is an American. And the means testing actually causes more problems than it solves. This is based on the experience that they've had in Alaska over the last 40 years. In Alaska, everyone gets between $1,000 and $2,000 a year from the petroleum dividend. No questions asked. It's wildly popular, has created thousands of jobs, has improved income inequality and children's health in a deeply conservative state. And the richest Alaskan gets it, the poorest Alaskan gets it. There's no stigma attached to it. There's no monitoring. There's no one checking to see, oh, did you make the same amount you did this year as you did last year? All of that disappears. And so it would not be means tested. It would be a universal right of citizenship.
The other big criticism against universal basic income plans is that people think it will erode the dignity and value of work, that if suddenly you're getting $1,000 a month paycheck without having to lift a finger, that people just won't feel like they need to work. What's your response to that, especially in a state like Iowa where employers are crying out for enough workers?
There are two things I'd say. The first is to just look at my own family. My wife is at home with our two boys right now, one of whom is autistic. What does her work figure in right now with the economy? What is the market value of her work at? Both of those figures are zero, and we know that's the opposite of the truth. We know that the work she's doing is among the most challenging and vital work in our society. So putting this money into our hands actually expands what we think of as work. It includes people like Kyle, who's at home with his ailing mother, and every caregiver and parent and someone who's making their family and community stronger. The second thing is that, what's really destroying the dignity of work is people feeling like they have to do jobs that are somewhat exploitative just in order to survive, and then us selling ourselves that, oh, that's actually super dignified. It's actually not dignified for someone to feel like they have to do anything under the sun just in order to make ends meet. And we know here in Iowa and around the country, it's harder and harder for people to make ends meet on one job because the corporate incentives are to try and minimize the amount of compensation that each worker will get, just down to that smidgen where it's just enough so that you'll survive, but no more. And so that to me is the undignified reality that we're right now somehow tolerating.